Hey everyone. I came across an inexpensive and a little bit older early access title that showed some promise, and I felt like it might be something worth taking a look at for those of you who are fans of some of the obvious inspirations here, like RimWorld or Terraria. What you're seeing here is called Narcesse, I think. It's a top-down, open-world survival crafting experience which boasts the familiar looks of RimWorld combined with controls and crafting systems you're familiar with Terraria-type games. Rather than story-building random world events, though, we're able to progress here at whatever speed you want, and base building is done instantly if you have the materials. The game is designed for either solo or multiplayer play, though there was a little feedback in my Discord about multiplayer experience likely not being balanced at the moment. As for myself, I played fully solo, though some of the game mechanics allow you to conscript colonists to live and work in your growing base. As you begin the game, like most survival experiences, you're under-equipped and you're marching toward death. You can slow this process by establishing a shelter and a basic farm once you've gotten your hands on some seeds. For a while, whatever you decide to build is completely in your hands. Of course, nobody else lives there. Over time, you're going to have visitors approach to buy and sell goods, as well as other NPCs that'll spawn to just kind of do their thing out in the wild. Each of these randoms will have expectations that would need to be met if they're going to be willing to join up with you. But if you can meet those demands, you've got yourself a roommate. Having these colonists around will help you set up stockpiles, job automation. It allows you to pawn off some of your lesser jobs like tree chopping or farming, and focus on the things you'd rather do. I love some of the concepts here, and they work together pretty well in the early game to get everything started. Where I started to see a progression break down was really due to more some of the balance and world generation issues. Unfortunately, when you use randomness to define the experience, as is common in games like this, it can become very easy to skip major sections of the experience due to lucky finds. Similar to Terraria, for example, copper is a low-tier material, and then iron, and then gold. By that logic, you might expect the rarity of those things to make sense, which I found really didn't feel much the case in my world. Instead, my experience let me skip over most of the crafting tiers and rush right to the limits. So that, in combination with the drop rate of healing potions and power-up potions, led to a fairly challenge-free exploration experience, as long as I moved carefully. With the world map divided into chunks, the challenge level was associated with the biome for whatever map location grid you're in. You've got woodland-type areas to explore, icy areas, desert lands, each with a corresponding underground layer as well. The overworld side can have generated locations like friendly villages where you can buy and sell items, and potentially new crafting materials you might not have at home. In the underworld, you can get metal-type materials as you explore through the caverns and dig around. Before I get into some deeper criticisms, I do want to say that I feel like this game and the developer could use the support. This game is inexpensive, especially right now with the Steam summer sale going on. I feel like there is a ton of potential for what this might become with some balance changes. That said, I can already explain the game dynamic that would eventually cause me to lose interest personally, and it would be the map and travel system as it stands. In the current state, you have a relatively relaxed experience where you might occasionally be raided, but there's not much of a real threat. You can work up to build a base larger and larger, but again, not much benefit with it in the current scope. As I said, the NPCs just gather resources, automating some of those job tasks for you, and unless you're constantly using those resources to build, even the value of that gathering is somewhat limited. In the same sense, it currently doesn't feel like there's much of a point to exploration once you've reached the highest equipment tier you can, especially when you combine the concept of having to travel from map to map. From my playthrough, and also made evident by both Terraria and RimWorld, the threat to your base needs to be more real. Materials should be drained through having to build things like reinforcements or making repairs. And once these kind of changes happen, the base becomes a much more valuable thing. The scarcity of resources makes them more special. As it stands right now, you can equip villagers that you can script, and materials aren't exactly rare. Raiders don't seem to really pose much of a challenge to anyone. Spawning a boss into the game world, again, much like Terraria, does present a big challenge. But if you're prepared with potions and whatnot, the experience can be very forgiving. The boss battles are unique, and the things that they drop are often the keys that allow you to progress from one tier to the next. Because of that, they're really the only true reason to drive exploration once you have a stockpile of certain key resources from each of the main biomes. All of that said, many of these gripes seem like very temporary things, and I'm not suggesting that the experience is unsalvageable. Even a few minor tweaks or the addition of some sliders could drastically change this experience. If this isn't something you want to grab right now, maybe something to add to your wish list as early access changes continue to drop, and it's certainly one I want to keep an eye on as time goes on. Once again, I appreciate your time here with me today. If you made it to the end, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more like this. And as always, thanks for watching.